Greetings, Iain from R.T.O here. Welcome to Ladies' Day on the channel, where we dedicate the last Tuesday of the month to female artists. And I've got a real good couple here for you today. One's from America, and one's American-Canadian type thing. So today we're going to do an album ranking of Lita Ford, most famous for being in the Runaways in the 70s, and then she embarked on a very successful glam metal solo career, which mid 80s she was quite big and made some really good albums. I had the pleasure of seeing her in concert. She supported Bon Jovi on their New Jersey tour, and what a show it was. So she started off at the age of 16 joining the Runaways. Very successful in the Runaways. They split up in 1979. Sort of a bit quiet for a few years, and then in 1982 Lita Ford signed to Mercury Records. And in that time she has released 9 albums. But quite honest, they are really good. They all are good. Some I prefer than others, of course. But on the whole, a really good listen. So she's released, as I said, 9 albums. So we'll have a look at those 9 albums. So coming in at number 9, we go to the 7th album from 2009, and it's called Wicked Wonderland. Now this is the first album of new material for almost 15 years. So joining Lita on here, now Lita plays vocals, guitar, and she was produced in this. Jim Gillette on vocals as well, Greg Hampton on guitars, and drums was split between Stret Howland and Chris Collier. First track on here is called Crave. This has got a great bass line. The vocal's good, but the production on this is not very good. It's a little bit tinny in places, is any way to describe it. You got Peace, Hell Yeah is the next track. This is more Jim Gillette singing on this, but the guitar work from Lita's good. She's a really good rock guitarist. It's not a bad track. Then we got Patriotic SOB. This is not the best track on the album, though the bits of the American National Anthem sound good on that. That's pretty good. Then we got a track called Scream for Me. Really heavy. Great vocal from Lita. Love that track. Then we get Inside. Again, I'm not very keen on this one. I'm not very keen on this Jim Gillette's vocals, to be quite honest. And then we get the title track, Wicked Wonderland. Like this record. The riffs and the guitar are good. Sounds a little bit like a siren as well. It's pretty good. It's not a bad little track. Then we get Indulge. The only thing I like about that is the solo. It's not a brilliant track. Then we get my favourite track on here. It's just called Love. Dirty riffs here. I like the middle where you get the little heartbeats as well. Very good. Betrayal. One of the filler tracks on here. It's not that memorable. Sacred. I like this. It's got lots of atmosphere. Some nice delicate touches on the guitars from Lita. Pretty good. Truth. Yes, solid track. There's nothing wrong with it. Everything. Again, bit of a filler track for me. Bed. One of the worst tracks on the album in my opinion. It just doesn't sound very good. Then we get Garden. These last tracks are not that brilliant. That's a bit of a filler again. But the last track, Push, is one of the better tracks. It really sounds like a good old-fashioned song from Lita, and a great vocal from her. Some of these songs are really good, but what really lets this album down is the production. I think the Lita's vocals are great, but Jim's don't sound that. I don't know what they were doing. It seems that he wanted to get his vocal more in Lita's, and there's too many songs that sound the same on this. It's a shame, considering this was her first album in 15 years. But the tracks that are the ones I do like are pretty cool. So I'm going to give this an R.T.O ranking of 5 out of 10. So coming in at number 8, we go to the second album now, released in 1984, called Dancing on the Edge. It was Lita Ford on guitars and vocals, Hugh MacDonald on bass, who ended up playing with Bon Jovi, of course, and the very talented Randy Castillo on the drums. Now, he's probably drummed with most people, Ozzy Osbourne being one of his main ones. And we got some synthesizer from Jeff Lieb and Robbie Condor and Aldo Nova. So the first track on this one's called Gotta Let Go. Very strong riffs, great vocal from Lita. I love this track. It's good old fashioned glam 80s metal. It's really good. Dancing on the Edge, the title track. It's just good old fashioned American rock again. Some great riffs in this. This is just a very strong track. Great vocal from Lita again. Dressed to Kill, more great stuff. Strong riffs, solid track. Hit and Run, it's okay. It's got the 80s production on it, but it sounds really good. The riffs are really strong on this. Some great drumming from Randy on this. Excellent little track. Lady Killer, my favourite track on here, is just a killer vocal from Lita. Strong track. Great drumming again from Randy. We got Still Waiting, just that typical, one of the typical rock tracks of the 80s. It's nothing special, it's just fine. Fire in My Heart, another cracking track. Really good stuff. Don't Let Me Down, a typical 1980s power ballad. It's not too bad. Then we have Run with the Dollar, a good little rock track. Killer guitar solo from Lita Ford, absolutely at the top drawer, and Randy is on fire again. Okay, this is a very simple 80s rock album. Sometimes simple things work. It's a good rocker. So I shall give this one an R.T.O ranking of 5.6. Okay then, coming in at number 7, we've got the debut solo album from Lita, released in 1983, and it's called Out for Blood. So on here is Lita Ford on all the rhythm and lead guitars and lead vocals. Neil Merriweather plays the bass and harmony vocals, backing vocals, and he produced the album as well. And Dusty Watson is on the drums. First track is called Out for Blood. Love the bass line here from Neil Merriweather. Really holds the song together, and you've got Lita doing all the guitar work around it. Really solid start. Stay With Me Baby. Love this track. Again, the bass line is terrific. Cracking guitar work. Very solid. Basic, but very solid. Just a Feeling. A great vocal from Lita on this. I think she's a great singer, and I do like her stuff. Ready, Willing and Able. Just raw rock. Great vocals. It's just plucking and go stuff, which is, I think, the best. And Die For Me Only, and in brackets Black Widow. I love the start of this. I love the drumming here from Dusty. Really gives it some atmosphere. And then you get a killer guitar solo from Lita. Solid stuff. Then we get Rock and Roll, Made What I Am Today. Very Runaways sounding track. You think it is the Runaways. It's pretty good. I like that track. If you can't live with it, one of those tracks that needs a little bit more to it. It's a little bit shallow. On the Run, really good track. Great bass line here from Neil again. Love the solo on this. The guitar solo is pretty good. Then there's a cover of Any Way That You Want Me, written by Chip Taylor, released by Tina Mason. It's a B-side to her single Finders Keeper. It's been covered by a lot of people, including the Trogs. I don't think he does a bad version of it. It's pretty good. And then the last track, I Can't Stand It. Very solid song. Some great guitar work from Lita on that one. I think this is a very underrated debut album. It just needs a little bit more production on there, and I think it'd have been a little bit better. But on the whole, a very good debut album from Lita. So I'm going to give this an R.T.O ranking of 6 out of 10. Okay, then coming in at number 6, we got the fifth album, released in 1991, Dangerous Curves. On here is Lita Ford, of course, on lead vocals and guitars. Joe Taylor on the guitars. David Ezrin on keyboards. Matt Bissonette on bass guitar. Myron Groombatcher on the drums. Additional guitars from Heart's Howard Leese. Backing vocals are done by Jeff Scott Soto, Debbie Holiday, Jolene Turner no less, Michael Caruso and Anne-Marie Hunter. So the first track on here is called Larger in Life. Cracking track. Love the drums in this. Lita's absolutely on fire, both on the guitar and her vocals. Then we get a track called What Do You Know About Love? Another solid track. It does what it says on the tin. It's a great rock track. Then we get Shot of Poison. Don't like this song at all. It's a bit too commercial. MTV fodder. That's all it is really. It's pleasing the MTV crowd. It's not a particularly good song. Bad Blood sounds very much like Heart. There's nothing wrong with that. Playing with Fire. Forget about that little cheesy keyboard bit at the beginning. It's just naff. But the rest of the track absolutely rocks. Hellbell Train, my favourite track on here. I love the guitar solos on this. Nice riffs as well. Few good licks. Really, really good track. Then we get Black Widow. Unusual start. Great bass line. Turns out to be a pretty decent track. Then we get Little Too Early, co-written by Rick Blakemore and Jolene Turner. Another really commercial sounding rock song. But Jolene Turner was pretty good at that sort of commercial sound. It's not too bad. Holy Man, just a solid rock track. An incredible guitar solo. Absolutely killer. Tambourine Dream is the next one. Some great vocals on this. Really good. And then you get a little ditty called Little Black Spider, which is just, I think, Lita on the guitar, just to end the album. It's not a bad album. I mean, her previous album, which we'll talk about later, was a very successful album for her. This is pretty solid, and I'll give this an R.T.O ranking of 6.5. Okay, coming in at number 5 is the fourth album from 1990. Pretty successful album for her. It's called Stiletto. And then to support them, to promote this album, she went out and toured with Motley Crue. So on this is Lita Ford again on the vocals, Dave Ezrin's on keyboards, Don Nusavo on bass, Myron Grombatters on the drums. Additional musicians on this one: Pablo Caldero on the baritone saxophone, Richie Cantana on tenor sax, Barry Dillon on trumpet, Kevin Osborne trombone, lots of other people as well playing bits of brass and strings, etc. First track on here is called Your Wake Up Call. Really good bass line. There's some great bass lines and bass players on these. It may be short, but it's really good. I like that track. Hungry, a really groovy start. Great shot, solid vocal from Lita. I like that track. Dedication. Now this is written by a certain Mick Chapman. And yes, you can tell it is. It's got all the traits of a Mickey Chapman song. Great hooks, great melodies, and a very good song. I like this song. It just proves that Mr. Chapman could still pump out a great pop song, rock pop song, and it's in the vein of what he was good at doing. Very good track. Stiletto, solid riffs in this. Great track. Then we get Lisa. Now this is a nice little song for the album. Some nice singing on it. It's really gentle. I like that. The Ripper. It's got an interesting synthesizer on it, but it does sort of add to the track. Big Gun. It's okay, but it's not my favourite. Then we get a cover, and it's Alice Cooper's Only Women Bleed. Only Women Bleed. An absolutely brilliant version of this song. Certainly better than Guns N' Roses' version. I quite like that track. And then Bad Boy, my favourite track on this album. It's got a lot of grunt, a lot of energy, and a great vocal from Lita on that. Aces and Hate. It's alright. Then we get Cherry Red. Good guitar solo on that. Really good track. And then Then we got Outro. Just a guitar solo to end this thing with some nice drumming on it. Again, really solid album. This was a run of albums that were very good. This was like the last of the albums that she really how do I put it? It was probably a major successful album. It's got some great tracks on this, so I'm going to give this an R.T.O ranking of 6.6. Okay, then coming in at number 4, we have a 8th album, and it came out in 2012, and it's called Living Like a Runaway. And it's got Lita Ford on it, of course, on guitars and keyboards, Gary Hoey on guitars, Max Skerfield on drums, the Uptown Horns, little band. So the first track is called Branded. What a great opening. A great vocal from Lita. She's still got a powerful voice. Then we get Hate, another great track. Driving bass line, solid guitar work. The Mask. The drumming's a little bit suspect. I don't know, it sounds a bit programmed to me. But the solo's good on it. Living Like a Runaway, great track. It does, I think it is sort of paying homage to her days in the Runaways. It's a great track. Sounds very much like something that the Runaways would have done. Relentless. Love them opening riffs. Great sound on that guitar. Great stuff all the way through. Mother. Really nice acoustic track by Lita. Devil in My Head. My favourite track on here. It's absolutely brilliant. Driving riffs. The drum sounds great. And Lita just absolutely killing the vocals. Absolutely brilliant. Asylum, a really good track. Love the guitar work on this. Then we get Love to Hate You. It's a duo that she does with Gary Hoey, and it's quite good. Then they do a Motley Crue cover, and it's a song to slit your wrists by, written by Nikki Sixx. Well, all I'll say, it's better than the version on Motley Crue's Generation Swine. She certainly sings it better than a certain Vince Neil. Okay, after that disappointing comeback album, Wicked Weekend, I think this is better. This is more like it. She's got the sound right. It's a better produced album, and I love this album. And I'm going to give this an R.T.O ranking of 7 out of 10. Okay, then coming in at number 3, we have the 6th album from 1995, and it's called Black. This features Lita's lead, plays all the rhythm in lead guitars and sings. Larry Bones Dennison's on the bass. Roger Carter's drums. Additional people on here are Steve Reed, additional percussion, Bob Ropp on the Hammond, and Jimmy Z on the harmonica, and the cello from Martin Tillman on War of the Angels. Jim Billette's back on here doing some backing vocals. Jeff Scott Soto is as well. So the opening track is the title track, is Black. Love this. The bass line, when you put this through the headphones, you can really hear it. It dominates the track. Fall, a nice song. The backing vocals are on this terrific, and the guitar playing from Lita on this is pretty cool. Lover Man, a little bit gentle, semi-acoustic song. I like that track quite a lot. Killing Kind, love the keyboard on this. It really does add depth to it. It's a different sort of sound. I like that. Hammerhead, great track. Some nice tracks, some nice textures on this track. Boiling Point, good rocker this is. The harmonica on this absolutely rocks it. It's a great track. Where Will I Find My Heart Tonight? Another really good song. It's not heavy, but it's got some great little power riffs in it as well. Excellent track. War of the Angels. I don't mind that one. It's not the best track on the album. The cello sounds nice. Then we get Joe. Love the drums on this and the bass line. That rhythm section's working well. You got the solo on this is brilliant from Lita. White Lightning, more harmonica driving through this. The riffs are good. Absolutely cracking track. Then we get an instrumental called Smoking Toads. It's a nice instrumental. Some nice guitar textures and effects. Then my favourite track is the last track, Spider Monkeys. It's a very jazzy sort of track with some great guitar work. It's amazing. It just shows that she's got a little bit, I don't know if she's into jazz, but it's got that jazzy sound. It's a great track. A really good album from top to bottom here. A little bit different for her. It's a bit grungy, then you get this little jazzy sound. It's a fantastic album, and I'm going to give it an R.T.O ranking of 7.3. Okay, coming in at number 2 is the most current album, and it was released in 2016, and it's called Time Capsule. Now, this album is made up of tracks that were culled from a cache of 24 track analog tapes that Ford discovered when she in a closet in her Caribbean home. Yeah, made these tracks and didn't know what and forgot about them. It's a stuff that she recorded with friends and jamming around in a house. So these tracks are probably from they reckon they're from the 80s, and they're really good. So on here we've got lead vocals and guitars, Lita Ford. Lead vocals guest was Jeff Soto Scott. Bass players on here. I don't know which order they come in. We've got Billy Sheehan, Gene Simmons and Greg Babsisco. Drums on here are Roger Carter. We've got Dave Navarro playing a mandolin. Rick Nielsen and Robbie Zander do some backing vocals. So this is all just probably little sessions they were having. So first thing you get a little intro. Then we got Where Will I Find My Heart Tonight, which is one that she recorded. But this is really good. You know, this is the rawness of it. It is just plug in and go. I mean, she recorded this later, but it's just great. Just like Killing Kind. Great guitar on this. It sounds fantastic. It's just raw, and you can feel the energy and the fun that they were having. War of the Angels. Now this sounds a lot better than the version that was on that she recorded to put on the album. It's more raw. It's great. The solo's even better. Then we get tracks that they never saw the light of day, I don't think. Black Leather Heart. I like this. Great guitar work. Rotten to the Core. My favourite track on here. I'm sure this is Billy Sheehan on the bass. It's got that sort of feel to it. It's really good. Then we get Little Wing. Just some great blues music. I think it's a jam. I don't think there's nothing written down. They're just having a great time. On the fast track, the bass line dominates that. It's the riffs. It's raw as you like, and I love that's what I like about it. King of the Wild Wind, another good song. Bit of a power ballad, but really good. Mr. Corruption. Some really nice guitar touches on this. Great vocal from Lita. Anything for a Thrill. This rocks. Absolutely rocks. I think this is a little gem of an album. You've got some very basic couple of songs that went on to get onto albums. You know, and she just found this line in a cupboard somewhere. I just love the rawness of it. And, you know, it's just great that she found it and she put it together. And I think it works. I love it. I just love the sound on this. So I'm going to give this an R.T.O ranking of 7.5. Okay, my number one album is my number one because this is the tour that I saw her on, and I went and brought the album at the earliest available time for me. It's the third album, released in 1988, and it's just called Lita. On here we've got Lita Ford on guitars and vocals, David Ezrin on keyboards, Don Nosovo on bass, Myron Gombacher on drums. Additional musicians on here. We've got Greg Camp, additional percussion, Mike Chapman and Laurie McDonald doing backing vocals, and a guest appearance on duo vocals by the one and only Mr. Ozzy Osbourne. Okay, first track, Back to the Cave, co-written by Mike Chapman. Love this track. The guitar work is brilliant. Great vocal. Good start to the album. Okay, Can't Catch Me's now, written by Ezrin Fornan and Lemmy of Motorhead, and it's called Can't Catch Me. What a track. The drumming on this is killer. I mean, I remember watching this live. It absolutely blew me away. It's terrific drumming. Great vocal from Lita. Love that. Then we got a Mike Chapman track again for Blueberry. Typical Mike Chapman. Catchy. Great chorus. It's my second favourite track on here. It's got such a catchy tune. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Next one is Kiss Me Deadly, a big hit, big MTV hit for her. It is a good song. Great riffs. And she still plays it today live, which is pretty cool. Falling In and Out of Love, co-written with Ezrin and Nikki Sixx. Probably the weakest track on them here. It's a little bit wishy-washy. It's not the best track on the album. Next track, Fatal Passion. Really solid track. Love the riffs. Powerhouse stuff. Great vocal from Lita Ford. Under the Gun. One of those late 80s atmospheric tracks. Real slow riffs. Love this track. One of the best power sort of ballads on the album. Broken Dreams. That's the only other track I'm not very keen on. 1980s MTV nonsense. And the last track was a big hit for her, and it's Close My Eyes Forever, which she sang with Ozzy. It did really well in the States. Great duo with Ozzy. It just helped when you're managed by Sharon Osbourne, so it's easy to get Ozzy for this track. It's a brilliant track. I love this. It's one of my favourite tracks by her. I mean, and what was nice that that sibling band Liliac have done a version of this as well, and they do a great version of it. You know, of all the tracks to pick, they picked this one. It's a brilliant track. Great way to end the album. As I said, this is my favourite Lita album. I think because I saw, when I went to see her, this was at the NEC in Birmingham, and she did obviously a lot of this album, and I loved it. It's proper sort of glammy metal stuff. This was the first album I ever bought by Lita Ford, and gradually I got them all. You know, I'm a fan of the Runaways, so why not? I think this is just a great album. Very 80s production, but it really she exploded back on the scene with this album. I've got many fond memories of playing this, and I still love playing it to this day. I love playing it loud. So I'm going to give this an R.T.O ranking of 8 out of 10. So there we go. Great little album she's put out. And if you haven't checked any of her stuff out, go and check it out. Okay, I'll be back later with a retro ranking, and today we're going to have a look at Canadian singer from Ontario, Alana Miles. Known mostly for one song, and one song only, but she made some really good songs, and she's still writing and performing to this day. So we're going to have a look at her. So join me for that later. Bye for now.